Hello and welcome to the latest from Heart Standard, the first briefing of 2024. Happy New Year to the subscribers, listeners, reader, however you identify yourself with regards to Heart Standard, and Happy New Year to my colleague James Kearney. How's it going, James?
Very well, thanks. Yeah, Happy New Year. Happy New Year.
Did you do much last night?
No, I had a very quiet one. No, I was just running out of friends. We had a couple of glasses of Prosecco, played some board games, played a little bit of Mario Kart. Yeah, it was all very nice, all very wholesome.
Relatively mature.
Yeah, in bed for 2 in the morning. That's what I was hoping for. So yeah, very happy.
Good stuff. I finished my new I started my new year by having to suffer sunshine and leaf in a pub, but less about that the better. So we're just going to quickly.
What pub were you in?
Sorry,
what pub were you in?
A pub called Jeremiah's Tap Room. Good pub. It's on Leaf Walk. Or just before getting the bus home. So it's normally a good pub. Didn't have tenants. I was in earlier, had tenants, and then the tenants was off. But again, that's just me being really petty. More of that in 2024. I thought we were just jumping on today just to quickly look back at the Ross County game, quickly look forward to the Livingston game tomorrow. So we're probably going to spend about 10 minutes on both and then get out of here and enjoy New Year's Day before we get to Ammanvale tomorrow for the final fixture of, I was going to say final fixture of the year. No, it's the first fixture of the year, but the final fixture before the winter break. So before we get to that, we'll look back at the Ross County game. Finished 2-2 and... I mean, the main positive from Hearts, one of the only positives, was the fact that came back for the first time this season in League Two, get a point or get something out of game, having trailed. You have rewatched the game, James. Is there anything that stood out from the rewatch that maybe you hadn't really noticed during the game?
I think you can probably break the game down into like 3 distinct parts. Like, I'd very easily break them down to just the first half hour, the middle half hour, and the last half hour, because it was like kind of 3 very different performances and 3 different kind of games at those stages. So I think straight off the bat, I don't think that the setup was right. I think we can see that. I think the first half hour, so Ross County were the better team. Hearts were really struggling to build out from the back in that kind of 5-3-2 or 3-5-2 that they were playing in. Atkinson, got to say, was particularly guilty. A lot of the time the ball was worked at Atkinson, and it would either be he'd end up just shelling the ball forward, or it'd be a sloppy pass, or there was just he wasn't quite on it, and he was culpable a fair bit of the time when Hearts lost the ball when they were building out from the back, and then that just let County just counter straight onto Hearts, and that's what they wanted to do. They had likes of obviously you got Sims and Danda playing behind the front two of Simon Murray and Jordan White. Mm-hmm. They're fast. Obviously, Sims very quick, wants to get forward, wants to support the attack. You've got Danda, great on the ball, really good at keeping a hold of it, can play under pressure, really good passer. And then obviously Simon Murray's loads of legs up top. Jordan White, big target man. So it's quite an effective attacking unit, and just
it's quite a balanced one as well. Got a lot of different qualities.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, but it just meant that they were really good at that kind of front forward, just attacking, getting forward really quick. So whenever Hearts did lose the ball, which they did a little too often, I mean, not only did they lost a chance, but they're also now in a situation where, oh God, they might concede. I mean, the goal the chance that Simon Murray had, for instance, early on, that all started because Atkinson loses the ball at right wing back, and then the balls eventually worked to the Hearts won the ball back, but at this point, County have pressed really high, and then when Neuhoff eventually plays it to Halkett, which is a crazy pass to make in the first place, but then Halkett's first touch is horrendous, and then the pass he tries to make is even worse. I don't know what he's trying to do, and again that could have easily been 1-0. So there were really big warning signs early on, and at the other end of the park as well. Just watching it back, you could see as well, County were clearly baiting the Hearts players into pressing them. Like whenever it was a County goal kick or they were building out from the back, they just slowly pass it around the back line, wait until the Hearts basically the attackers, the midfielders, and the wing backs is all pushed forward, and then just launch it up to Jordan White or Simon Murray. And they got into like some really great areas doing that. So I mean, County's game plan was working to a T.
Just so I can come on that bit. That's one thing I really noticed in the way that Derek Adams was. He's always animated on the touchline, but his animation with his own team, it's clear you could see the way they played that they had been working on this like they did clearly worked on this game plan in training, and it was kind of built geared to come and cause Hearts a lot of issues because you had a change so you had the change in shape, because usually a back three, even under since Adamson's came in and replaced Malcolm McCann, positive they've tended to play with a back three. And then just like you said in the goal kicks, I noticed that Derek Adams was kept on giving his players specific instructions when they had when they had goal kicks. But yeah, it was just I know it may have been his message being lost in the delivery, but I think it was spot on with some of the stuff he said after the game in terms of how much better that Ross County were than Hearts, certainly for the first half.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, that first half hour, as I say, County were the better team. They were getting chances. Hearts weren't really making much. Again, there was some poor decision making in the final third. A couple of times when Cochrane in particular, there was one time when he really should have been slipping into Gawa, but instead hits a crazy shot that's got no chance to go in. Or Neuenhoff did that a couple of times as well, where again there's like, what are you doing? Like, that's never going to go in. Like, just pass the ball. So yeah, there was a couple of instances like that where you just like, yeah, that's not great. But largely Hearts were struggling, and then until I'd say it was about the half-hour mark when Hearts then switched to a 4-2-3-1. So that had Denham out on the right and Tagawa out on the left, and they played it like that for the remainder of the first half. And then things got better. It wasn't a case of Hearts were creating all these great chances all of a sudden, but Ross County at least weren't. When you look at the XG chart for the course of the game, at the half-hour mark, like your County has been going steadily up, then it hits the half-hour mark and it just turns into a straight line.
Yeah.
So that shows you that okay, Hearts were still not great, but at least they stopped the chances coming in. And then at the break, when you get Forrest and they're coming on, that's a natural consequence of that change in shape. But yeah, so then it's the start of the second half as well. It's strange because Hearts are actually playing quite well. Again, County haven't really had much of a sniff. But the first goal comes from a Hearts free kick and kept Ross just at the halfway line, just inside Ross County's half, where basically the entire team goes forward with Rolls as basically the only person staying back. The ball gets played forward, Hearts lose it, and then as the players are rushing to get back into shape, Danta's on the ball. He starts with charging up the wing. Everyone's getting back, getting into position, and then again Atkinson doesn't cover himself in glory because he just steps up at that wrong moment where he's still just playing Murray onside, but then he's completely off balance. So then Danda plays the ball in. Murray's got acres of space to run into. By the time Atkinson's caught up with him, it's too late. Then the ball comes in, it's a goal. So that was just a bit of a goal out of nothing because again, up until that point, the shape was working, and then even after that, I think that the second goal as well, obviously entirely self-inflicted, completely avoidable. That comes from a goal kick. It's got a goal kick to Neuenhoff. Neuenhoff loses the ball cheaply, gives away a silly foul. All of a sudden, it's in the back and it's 2-0. So at that point, that's about the hour mark. Things aren't looking good. But I think credit to Naismith to make some changes again. Vargas is brought on at that point. Stephen Kingsley's brought on as well, comes on at left back. That makes a huge difference to the team because I think down the left-hand side in particular from that point on, Hearts were looking really good. They were making some really good areas. The way that Alan Forrest was kind of occupying James Brown basically just freed up Kingsley in loads of space. So whenever the ball was worked down that side, the final ball wasn't always there, but it was clear that was working, and that was definitely playing into Hearts' hands.
Sorry,
on you go.
I was just saying, I noticed Naismith a few times were shouting on Alan Forrest to pick up just a kind of off a position just off the left to obviously try and open up that space for Kingsley.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And as I say, it was working. Kingsley and Forrest were combining pretty well. I mean, Forrest actually was just doing really well when he came on anyway. I thought that area of the park, he was getting to really good positions again with Alan Forrest. The final ball wasn't always there, the final shot, the final product, but apart from that, it was certainly getting into good areas. So it was working down the left-hand side, but on the right it wasn't because Oda just wasn't getting wide enough. I don't think he was stretching the plays as often as he could have. But then when the second goal goes in, it's a result of that. Oda finally does get wide. The ball does get played in behind. He's got a bit of time. He's got a bit of space, which I think a player like Oda, that really helps him. It's a great ball into the box, and then eventually Neuenhoff moves off for Shanklin to make it 2-2. So I mean that goal is great from that perspective, and that it shows that. But that if you do actually get Oda to get into those wide areas the same way that Kingsley was on the other side, take advantage of that space, you can create great chances, and that's where the second goal came from. The first one, to be honest, I think County might be kicking themselves a wee bit over it, just because as soon as they went 2-0 up, they then kind of sat deeper, a lot deeper, in fact, because they've been pressing quite high out the park most of the game. After that, they went 4-1, they went 4-4-1-1, sat nice and deep, kind of said, right, Hearts, okay, your move. And as a consequence of that, they let the centre-backs have the ball whenever Hearts were in possession. That's where the first goal comes from. Kent's got the ball. Nobody's got put any pressure on him. He dinks it forward. Shankland wins his flick on. I think it's pretty much the only kind of flick on he won the entire game, but there you go. And then all of a sudden, Vargas is in. And don't get me wrong, Vargas does brilliantly. He does. I think he takes it superbly. But again, it's probably a result of County just making that decision to sit off, to sit that little bit deep, inviting trouble, and then obviously that gets Hearts back into the game. But the only down point you'd probably say from that point is that then that final 10 minutes, Hearts just never kicked on. Again, County then started pressing higher at the park again, started doing what they were doing earlier in the game. And then Hearts just couldn't really get into the match back into after that. Like, neither side really created enough any serious chances to win the game. Apart from maybe Vargas right at the death, he could have maybe got a winner. But aside from that, I think you look back on it and you go, it's a poor performance from Hearts. I think in terms of players on the park were quite sloppy. It was a bit leggy, I think. But I think tactically as well, I don't think Hearts were set up the right way at all. To be fair, they did respond well to those challenges. They picked out what's going wrong in the game and got back into it. But ultimately, I think, Hearts should be pretty pleased with a point from that one.
Yeah, absolutely. When I went 2-0, you're thinking, how have they, having won at Celtic and Hibs recently, how have they got themselves into this position? But that was probably looking at Stats Bomb this morning, it was this morning. I'm looking at the race chart that it's quite a good barometer in terms of how chances are created throughout the match. It's quite useful. And after the second goal, Hearts have nothing. Hearts don't add to it, which was frustrating because I think we scored more than early enough to get that winner. The momentum was there, which it's that was a frustrating aspect. We not really touched on the we talk about the refereeing, but more Alan Forrest non-penalty award. Yeah. I mean, watching it back, it looks like it's a clear penalty, and I don't understand how it was. How Alan Muir was not asked to come and look at it on the monitor. Again, I've wrote a piece on the site yesterday about that, about the two sides of the game, Hearts' performance, but also the officiating, which again, it's we don't like to talk about it, and it's more the case of mistakes by a referee like Muir thinking Forrest has dived. That's fair enough because it happens really quickly, and it could look different from different angles. But that, I think, referee mistakes are forgivable. Less forgivable is the fact that you've got a fail-safe. I think that's what Naismith called it a fail-safe. That should prevent such situations happening. But that was frustration. But it shouldn't take anything away from how Hearts made it kind of difficult for themselves. It was quite a poor. Like I said, a really poor half an hour. And on the flip side, coming back to get a point is not the worst, considering I think there's two ways to look at it. The frustration of not strengthening that lead in third place, but also the fact that drawing, it wasn't a massive slip up when you consider that Aberdeen were hammered and Kilmarnock dropped points as well.
No, exactly. It's definitely it's not the end of the world by any stretch of the imagination. I think, I think it's a game where, there's a number of players who weren't quite at it. I don't think the tactics were quite right from the get-go. And I think given the position the Hearts found themselves in with half an hour or so to go, a point's not the worst result to get. But I think over the piece, you do look at it and go, yes, the Hearts should obviously like Hearts to be getting 3 points in that. A point, given the mitigating factors, it's probably not the worst result. And I think, again, there is that silver lining of, okay, at least this time the team actually did react, whether that be Naismith's changes from the bench and, the players out in the park. But in previous games this season, when similar things have happened, that's not, Hearts have just lost. Whereas this time they at least got a point.
Yeah.
It's a disappointing point, but it's still better than nothing. So I think, again, not great. It shows, again, I think I've written this in my analysis piece that's going out later today, but if just as the wins over Hibs and Celtic showed that, this team, there's progress getting made, just like that. But in the same vein, results like this show that the team is still a work in progress. There's still work to be done, and there will be off days.
Yeah, absolutely. That said, it's like you wrote a piece after the Hibs. It was after the Hibs game about Stephen Naismith, and there shouldn't be any like fans wanting him out, and but it wasn't a case of everything's perfect. It was job's done. It was a case. It was basically pointing out that the team have made clear progress and throughout the season, but at the same time, it's not perfect. There's still progress to be made, but Hearts are on the right path, and that path leads to Livingston tomorrow. A Livingston team who are winless in 12, who are bottom of the table. Just uttering those words, I'm thinking, oh no.
It's got 1-0 written all over it, doesn't it?
Oh, they've won 2 games all season. Yeah. Hearts should be winning this match. They really should be winning this match. But the last match before the break, Livingston's poor form, a number of key players out injured. It's if you offer me a scrappy 1-0 win just now, I'm going to be taking that. But what are your thoughts on the game tomorrow? Because Livingston, you look at their team, it's not much change from last season. They've still got a lot of quality in there, but it's just not happened for them at all this season. They really seem to be really struggling. David Martindale's spoken about not having, like, they obviously got financial issues at play in terms of how much budget they'll have. But again, you look at the team that lost 3-1 at Motherwell the weekend. Obalai, Shamal George, Pittman, Holt, Bruce Anderson, Joe Nubley, James Penrice, all these guys were decent last season or had really good seasons in the Premiership. And then look at their bench. They brought on, they had Andrew Shinney and maybe not as strong elsewhere, but you can see that they've definitely got something within them, but it's just not happened for them. And this is a game that Hearts should just be going and making it a routine victory.
I would think so, but I don't know. Do you ever get routine victories at Livingston away? Like, it's one of those games that's always difficult. It's always tough. Like, it doesn't really matter how the level of form that they're in. You know exactly what you're in for. It's not going to be easy, and you're going to have to work hard for it.
Yeah, because you're looking at the results recently. Like they've obviously they've drawn against St Johnstone Killie, but only lost 2-0 at Celtic Park. Aberdeen beat them by a goal. Hibs beat them by a goal. St Mirren beat them by a goal. Rangers won by 2. Dundee beat them by a goal. Hearts beat them by a goal as well. So it's not as if they're getting turned over every week.
Yeah, exactly. You know, and I think that I'm sure. I'd imagine Livingston will improve as the season goes on. Well, I mean, the only way's up, let's be honest. But I do think that, you know, you look at their track record over the years, and we know that Martindale can get a tune out of a squad assembled on a shoestring. He does it all the time. Maybe there's only so many rabbits he can pull out of a hat. So, you know, maybe this is a case of time's finally catching up with Livingston. I do think they've probably been punching above their weight for quite some time. But at the same time, they do have a remarkable way of, whenever anyone just starts writing them off, they always seem to just get their act together and make everyone else look very silly. So, I mean, I would expect Livingston to get better. And like you say, because you look at that squad and there are some good players in there. You know, there are some excellent players. Yes, they've lost a few important ones over the summer, and they've maybe not, maybe the guys they've brought in to replace them maybe aren't of a similar standard. But at the same time, you know, they've got Premiership quality players in there. They've got guys who can cause problems for a whole bunch of Premiership sides. And it certainly won't be easier again. These are the sort of games I think it's going to be really. These are sort of the ones that I get nervous for, because I look at them and just go like, oh, like, you know,
it's just natural being a football fan.
If you win, you know, well done, it's Livingston, you know. Yeah. But you know, if you drop points or lose, and you go, well, there you go, you know, Livingston you're losing to a team that's bottom of the league or whatever it is. So. Yeah, no, I think it's by no means an easy one. Like you say, particularly with players that Hearts are going to be missing as well. Naismith maybe doesn't have as many options available to him as he would like. Just on before we move on to talk about the team, Livingston have over the years since they came back at the Premier had a decent record against Hearts and Hibs. I don't think it's as good as it was maybe 12 months ago, where they might have had a better record against Hearts and Hibs than Hearts and Hibs have had against them. And they've also signed a 6'5" striker from Ipswich Town who made 16 appearances for Northampton Town last season but did not score.
a non-goal scoring striker will score a goal against Hearts.
It'll fit right in at Livingston, and then they'll love that.
Yeah, absolutely. Moving on to talk about the team. We mentioned the players are going to be absent, so there's likely going to be 6 first-team players missing. So Kai Rose and Nathaniel Atkinson have, I think they flew out today to join up with the Australian national team squad for the Asian Cup. Then you've got George Grant, Liam Boyce, Cammy Devlin and Barry Mackay, who are, I think 3 of the 4 are definitely going to be missing. And then there's still Liam Boyce could make it, but I doubt they're going to risk him. So you're looking at those 4 players plus the 2 on international duty. Benny Beningame should come back in. I'm thinking the team picks itself almost, especially with Nathaniel Atkinson away. So that's why I'm thinking it will be a back 3 again with Alan Forrest as a wing back. That you've got Stephen Kingsley coming into the back 3 alongside Halkett and Kent. Cochrane and Forrest as wing backs, and then Benny behind Neuenhoff and Denham with Vargas and Shankland up front. Again, you look at it, it's not the most attacking team, but I thought Alex Lowry didn't have the best game on Saturday either, and Naismith might go for players a bit more reliable.
No, I get that. I think, I agree. I think Lowry was quite poor at the weekend. I don't think it was his best game by a long shot. And I think when you look against Livingston again, you know exactly what it's going to be in for. It's going to be physical. It's going to be tough. It's going to be a fight. I would think that somebody like Denham, who's got that that bit more energy, that bit more work rate about him, he does more off the ball. He's happy to do a bit more running than someone like Lowry. I think he's better suited to something like that. But yeah, I think looking through the team, I think it's hard to disagree with that. I think you're right. It does pretty much pick itself. We might see Toby Sibbott come in, I suppose. Obviously, we spoke to Craig Halkett after the game, and he seems confident about his ability to play on the pitch. Obviously, his pitch is doing a lot, but it's a plastic pitch. He's just getting back from a long-term injury. So certainly, he didn't have any reservations about it. Maybe Naismith does. We don't know. I wouldn't be surprised. I don't think if we saw Sibbott come in and Halkett benched, if that was a concern. But I think after that, you're right. I mean, there's you look through the squad, and there's not too many question marks up in there. I think Vargas deserves to start after his performance overnight.
I think so.
Great goal. Looked quite lively as well. He's quite good at dropping deep and helping with the build-up play. I noticed that he did that a few times. That was quite encouraging because he's not always been great at that, I don't think. So again, I think you're right. I mean, there's not really much wiggle room in there at the moment, and certainly, I think that like when you kind of like rhyme off all those players that are missing, you kind of go, oh God, the winter break can't come soon enough.
Yeah, I know it's something that Raul's mentioned as well, that it's like the team's starting to get kind of back in shape, but just when it started looking like the whole squad's going to be available, other players started picking up knocks, and then you've got Atkinson and Raul's going away. So it has come. I think winter break has come at a good time, especially if we get 3 points, go into the winter break on a high, and then you kind of review the last 6 to 8 weeks, and you think that's job done. Like we kind of talked about, there's work to be done, but it gives a really strong foundation for that to be built on over the winter break, going into the second half of the season when got Spartans in the Scottish Cup. But then you look at league fixtures, it's quite a good return if you've got home Aberdeen, like home to Dundee, away to Dundee. So you've got it's not a daunting fixture list. So there's a real opportunity tomorrow just to get over the line by hook or by crook, get 3 points, and ideally put in a really kind of spirited performance, which makes fans at Livingston kind of go home and go, I mean, I really enjoyed that. But the most important thing is 3 points. We'll probably jump back on prior to the game tomorrow when the team's announced. But James, give me a prediction.
I'll go for a narrow Hearts win, 1-0 or 2-1.
Yeah, I'm going to go 1-0. Scrappy 1-0. I'll take it. That'll be us for today. Thank you very much, everyone, for listening. Continue to support, subscribe, read, and also I do wish everyone has a wonderful and happy new year. We'll be back, if not tomorrow on video, probably Wednesday to review the Livingston game, but there's plenty of stuff up on the site just now, looking at the injury look at the injury situation, plus what to expect from Hearts in the transfer market. And James will have an analysis piece going up later on today, and then we'll have all the analysis and post-match stuff from Livingston tomorrow. Until then, thank you very much and goodbye.